Lyra sat on the dusty ground of the outpost square, her back leaning against a rusted metal crate. The sun of the twin suns above scorched the pavement, making the air shimmer with heat. In her hands she held a worn holographic sign that flickered softly. Written on it in bold letters were the words, "One food, crew, one night." Her eyes scanned the crowd constantly, sharp and alert, every muscle tense beneath her simple clothes. She was alone here, but she had survived this long because she knew how to read people, both human and alien. The marketplace around her was alive with chaos. Merchants shouted in strange languages, their voices echoing off the walls of metal and stone. Vendors displayed goods that seemed impossible, from glowing fruits that floated in midair to small machines that hummed quietly with unknown power. Aliens of every shape and size jostled among humans. Some had too many limbs, some too few, and many moved with a grace or slither that made Lyra wary. She had learned early not to judge by appearances. Survival depended on observation and careful choice. Every few moments she caught the glances of passers-by. Some looked hungry and desperate like her, but she had learned to sense the dangerous ones. A man with 4 arms lingered too long near her, a crooked grin on his face. She tightened her grip on the sign. Another alien, this one with a translucent head and glimmering eyes, paused as if calculating her every move. She did not flinch. She had trained herself to stay calm, to give nothing away. Her stomach growled quietly, reminding her of why she was here. Food was currency, yes, but also survival. She had eaten sparingly for days, rationing what little she had managed to scavenge. The sign she held was her shield and her message. She would trade a night of shelter for a meal. Simple, direct, and honest. A group of rough-looking mercenaries noticed her first. Their boots made heavy clanging sounds against the metal pavement as they approached. The tallest among them leaned down, his yellow eyes scanning her. "Little human girl," he said with a voice like gravel, "what do you have for me?" Lyra's lips pressed together. She did not answer immediately. She had learned that speaking too soon could reveal weakness. Instead, she held up the sign, letting the flickering letters do the talking. The mercenaries exchanged glances. One laughed. "Looks like she's begging," he said. "I prefer the term negotiating," Lyra replied, her voice calm but firm. It was a small victory that she had spoken first. The tallest mercenary frowned. "Negotiating for what?" he asked. "For food," Lyra said simply, her gaze unwavering. "One meal, one night of rest, nothing more." The mercenary laughed again, a sound that grated like metal scraping stone. "You're bold. Not many survive here by just sitting and holding a sign. You must be." "Clever, I am," Lyra said. "Clever enough to survive longer than you might expect." The mercenary grinned, apparently enjoying the challenge. He tossed a small packet of dried food toward her. She caught it effortlessly, her hands steady. She did not eat it immediately. Instead, she sized up the man. Many here had tricks. Some poisoned food, others attached tracking devices. She sniffed the packet carefully, finding no danger. Then she ate a few small bites, savoring the nourishment. Her strength returned slowly, and her mind sharpened. As the mercenaries moved on, a hush fell for a moment in the marketplace. The air seemed to hold its breath. It was then that she noticed him. A human, tall and confident, wearing a worn leather coat and a wide-brimmed hat that shaded his eyes. He walked with a steady gait that suggested he had faced danger before, that he belonged to no one but himself. Lyra's instincts flared. She had seen humans here before, but rarely ones who looked like him. His presence felt different, commanding yet respectful. The cowboy stopped a few feet away, observing her with an intensity that made the hairs on her neck rise. "You don't belong here alone," he said finally, his voice calm and deliberate. "You need protection." "I don't need anyone," Lyra replied, testing him. She had heard these words many times before, from those who promised safety only to take more than they gave. But something about his stance, his unwavering gaze, made her pause. "You may not think so, but out here people will take advantage of you in ways you can't always see," he said. "I don't want anything from you. Just trust me for now." Before she could respond, the group of mercenaries returned, drawn perhaps by the presence of this new human. They surrounded her, laughing, their intentions clear. Lyra's heart beat faster, but she did not panic. She had faced worse situations than this. The cowboy stepped forward. "Back off," he said, his tone brooking no argument. The tallest mercenary snarled. "And who are you to tell us what to do?" I'm the one who decides she leaves here safely, he replied simply. The clarity of his words, the calm confidence made the mercenaries hesitate. Lyra noticed it immediately. Humans, even alone, had an instinct for authority that aliens often recognized instinctively. One of the mercenaries lunged forward, but the cowboy's movements were fluid, precise. He grabbed the attacker's arm, twisting it behind him with ease. Another tried to flank him, and the cowboy ducked, catching the alien off guard with a quick maneuver that sent him stumbling. The mercenaries paused, exchanging nervous glances. They had underestimated a human's skill and resourcefulness. Lyra took the moment to stand, her feet steady beneath her. She did not move closer to the cowboy. She wanted to show that she was not a helpless companion, but a capable partner. The mercenaries realized this too. They had been wrong to assume she was just a prize. Finally, the tallest mercenary growled. "This isn't over," he said, backing away. "But we'll leave. For now." The marketplace resumed its usual chaos, the noise and commotion swallowing the moment. Lyra exhaled slowly, her body relaxing just a little. The cowboy tipped his hat slightly. "You okay?" he asked. "I am," she said, her voice steady. "Thanks to you." "You're clever," he said. "I like that. Out here, cleverness matters more than strength sometimes. But strength helps too." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. For the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. Someone had seen her for what she truly was. Not just a girl holding a sign, but a human capable of surviving in a harsh universe. "I'm Jace," he said, offering a hand. "And you are?" "Lyra," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes of trust. The two moved away from the crowded square, weaving through alleys and side streets to escape notice. Lyra noticed how easily he navigated the streets, avoiding trouble without seeming to even think about it. It was the mark of someone who had spent years on the frontier, someone who understood danger instinctively. As they walked, Jace handed her a small pack of supplies. "Eat this," he said. "You'll need your strength." Lyra opened it to find dried fruits, water, and a small ration of nutrient bars. She ate quickly, the nourishment filling her body and clearing her mind. "Why are you helping me?" she asked finally. "Because out here we look out for each other," he said simply. "It's what makes us human. And because I don't like seeing clever people like you taken advantage of." Lyra considered this. She had spent her life relying only on herself, trusting no one fully. But there was something different about him. His words, his actions, the way he carried himself, they all suggested honesty. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the rugged streets. The noise of the marketplace faded behind them, replaced by the quiet hum of engines and the occasional shout in the distance. Lyra felt a cautious optimism. She was no longer entirely alone. Suddenly, a sharp whistle echoed from above. Lyra froze, and Jace's hand went to the weapon at his side. Two shadowy figures dropped from the rooftops, aiming to ambush them. Lyra's heart raced, but she reacted without thinking. She grabbed a metal rod from a nearby pile and swung it expertly, knocking one attacker off balance. Jace rolled, dodging the other's strike, and countered with a precise strike that sent him sprawling. Within moments, the attackers fled, realizing they had underestimated their prey. Lyra's hands shook slightly from the adrenaline, but she felt alive. She had faced danger and survived, not just because of Jace's help, but because of her own quick thinking. They found a small abandoned warehouse at the edge of the outpost to rest for the night. The interior was dusty with broken crates and tattered cloth, but it was safe for now. Lyra set down her sign, letting it rest against the wall. She sat down, exhausted but alert. Jace watched her quietly for a moment. "You're stronger than you realize," he said. "Not just physically, mentally, emotionally. That's why I wanted to find you before anyone else did." Lyra met his gaze, the flickering light of the twin suns casting shadows across her face. Maybe humans are capable of more than we give ourselves credit for," she said softly. Jace nodded. "Exactly. Out here, your mind and heart are your best weapons, and together we might just survive anything." The night deepened, stars glittering in the sky above the twin moons. For the first time in a long time, Lyra felt the weight of fear lift slightly. She was no longer just a girl holding a sign in a dangerous outpost. She was a partner, seen and respected, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy had in store. The warehouse was quiet, but the promise of adventure and survival hung in the air. Lyra and Jace had met by chance, yet it felt like fate. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but together they could navigate it. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert canyon outside the outpost. The twin suns painted the jagged rocks in shades of orange and gold, casting long shadows that shifted with the wind. Lyra adjusted the straps of her small pack and looked around, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. She had learned quickly that in this galaxy, safety was temporary and vigilance permanent. Jace walked beside her, his wide-brimmed hat casting a shadow across his face. He moved with a quiet confidence that spoke of years spent navigating dangerous frontiers, and Lyra found herself trusting him more with every step. They had left the bustling outpost behind, seeking a place where she could rest safely, but the canyon held its own dangers. Predators lurked in the rocks, both human and alien, and the harsh terrain tested their endurance. "You're thinking too much," Jace said, suddenly breaking her concentration. He glanced at her, his eyes sharp but kind. "Focus on the path ahead. Worrying about what might happen doesn't help anyone." "I'm not worrying," Lyra replied, though her voice carried a hint of hesitation. "I'm planning. If we're going to survive out here, we need to anticipate every possible threat." Jace smiled faintly. "Planning is good. Overthinking is dangerous. You've got instinct too, and that's just as important." They walked in silence for a while, the crunch of sand beneath their boots the only sound except for the occasional distant call of an alien bird. Lyra thought about the outpost, about how quickly things could turn violent, and how humans had always found ways to survive against overwhelming odds. She thought about why she had been there alone holding her sign, and how easily she could have been claimed or lost. Now, with Jace by her side, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. But the canyon was not empty. Shadows moved along the ridges above them, subtle at first, then unmistakably human. A rival gang of mercenaries had tracked them from the outpost, angry that Jace had claimed Lyra before they could. They were organized, cunning, and well-armed, their leader a large, intimidating figure with a scar running across his face. He signaled to his team and they split into groups, surrounding the narrow canyon path where Lyra and Jace walked. "Stay calm," Jace whispered. "Don't panic. Follow my lead." Lyra nodded, her heart pounding but her mind clear. She had faced threats before and she trusted Jace's instincts. Together they had survived once. They could do it again. The mercenaries attacked suddenly, leaping from hidden ledges and rushing down the canyon floor. Lyra reacted instantly, grabbing a sturdy branch from the ground and swinging it with precision, knocking one of the attackers off balance. Jace moved like water, deflecting blows and disarming enemies with swift, controlled movements. Lyra noticed something about these attackers. They were confident, but they underestimated her. They assumed she would cower or be passive, but she was far from helpless. She had survived by thinking quickly, acting decisively, and using the environment to her advantage. A loose rock underfoot became a trip. A narrow ledge became a barrier. Every move counted. One mercenary lunged at Jace from the side and Lyra intercepted, shoving him back with the branch. Jace spun, delivering a precise strike that sent the attacker sprawling. The fight was chaotic, the sounds of grunts, shouts, and the impact of bodies on sand echoing through the canyon. Yet amid the chaos, Lyra remained calm. She calculated each movement, each risk, and acted with purpose. After several tense minutes, the mercenaries realized they were at a disadvantage. Jace and Lyra moved with coordination that suggested more than luck. They moved as a team. The attackers retreated, muttering threats, but they had been outmaneuvered. Lyra's heart raced, but she felt exhilarated. She had proven something to herself as well as to the cowboy who had protected her. "You did well," Jace said quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I'm impressed." "You helped too," Lyra replied, her chest rising and falling rapidly. "I wouldn't have done it alone." "That's the point," Jace said. "We don't have to be alone. Not out here." They continued their journey, moving deeper into the canyon where the air was cooler and the shadows provided some cover. Lyra noticed how Jace studied the terrain, always scanning for ambushes or dangers. He taught her to do the same, showing her subtle signs of hidden threats, the slight disturbance of sand, the glint of metal in the sun, the unusual silence that often preceded an attack. She learned quickly, absorbing his lessons with keen attention. As the sun began to set, painting the canyon walls in deep red and purple hues, they came upon a narrow cave tucked into the side of the cliff. It was not large, but it offered shelter and a vantage point. Lyra examined the entrance, finding it safe. They entered and secured the opening with loose rocks and debris, creating a barrier that would make surprise attacks more difficult. Inside, Lyra unpacked the small food supplies Jace had given her earlier. They ate in silence, the tension of the day slowly fading as their bodies regained strength. She marveled at how different life felt when she was not constantly defending herself against every passerby. Here in this quiet cave, she could breathe, think, and plan. "I want to ask you something," Lyra said, finally breaking the silence. "Why did you come for me in the marketplace?" "You didn't know me. You could have ignored me and no one would have judged you." Jace looked thoughtful. "I've been around this frontier a long time. I've seen people, especially clever, brave ones, taken advantage of and lost. Something about you told me you weren't just another victim. You had grit and you had brains, and I respect that." Lyra studied him, understanding the weight of his words. Respect was rare out here, and she had learned to value it above all else. "I appreciate that," she said softly. The night passed quietly, with only the occasional howl of a distant creature. Lyra and Jace took turns keeping watch, the trust between them growing with every hour. By morning, they had shared stories of their pasts, their experiences surviving in harsh conditions, and their hopes for the future. Lyra realized that Jace's presence did not diminish her independence, it enhanced it. They were equals, each contributing their skills to their survival. As they left the cave, they encountered a wider part of the canyon where the terrain opened into a plateau. The sun glinted off distant metallic structures, remnants of a forgotten human colony, abandoned yet full of potential resources. Lyra's eyes lit up with the possibilities. She had always been resourceful, and this new landscape offered opportunities to gather food, water, and tools. "Looks like we're not out of danger yet," Jace said, scanning the horizon. "But we can make this work, together." They explored the area, finding hidden water sources and edible plants. Lyra's cleverness came to the forefront as she fashioned rudimentary traps to catch small animals and crafted devices to carry water. Jace contributed with his knowledge of mechanics and combat, making their small camp more secure and efficient. Their bond grew stronger as they worked side by side. Lyra admired Jace's courage, his calm demeanor, and the way he treated her as a partner rather than a liability. Jace, in turn, respected Lyra's intelligence, her quick thinking, and her unwavering determination to survive. They complemented each other, showing that humans, when united, could overcome challenges that seemed insurmountable. As the days passed, the rival mercenaries attempted several more ambushes, but Lyra and Jace were always one step ahead. Each time they used strategy and teamwork, turning the attacker's strength against them. The human ingenuity and resourcefulness of Lyra, combined with Jace's experience, created a formidable force. One evening, after successfully evading another ambush, they rested atop a cliff overlooking the canyon below. The stars began to appear, and the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the rocky terrain. Lyra felt a sense of accomplishment. She had gone from a lone figure holding a simple sign to a capable, confident human, recognized and respected by someone she trusted. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked quietly, watching the moons. "Every day," Jace replied, "but I focus on surviving today first. The future comes after," Lyra nodded. "I used to think surviving was enough, but now I see that surviving with purpose, with someone you trust, changes everything." Jace smiled. "Exactly. Humans are stronger than we think. Not just physically, but in how we adapt, how we plan, and how we care for each other." The night passed peacefully. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a sense of belonging. She was no longer just a girl trying to trade food for safety. She was a partner, a survivor, and a human capable of facing the galaxy's dangers with courage and intelligence. By the time the sun rose again, Lyra and Jace were ready to move forward, leaving the canyon for new challenges. They had proven themselves not only to the rival mercenaries, but to themselves. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but they had learned that together, humans could navigate it with skill, bravery, and ingenuity. As they walked side by side, Lyra carried her sign no longer as a plea for survival, but as a reminder of how far she had come. One food could buy one night, yes, but human courage, intelligence, and teamwork could buy something much greater: the chance to thrive, even on the harshest frontier. The canyon faded behind them, but the lessons they had learned, the value of trust, the power of human ingenuity, and the strength of courage, would guide them wherever the galaxy took them next. Together they